Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM, and in this pre-recorded episode. Today, of course, is Saturday, October 8th, 2022, and today we are talking about some of the many features, stories, and, of course, history that will be on, well, both exhibit and on tour for some upcoming events at the, of course, campus of the University of Texas at El Paso, including for spooky season, the Haunted Campus Tours, and again, all of the history involved with that. You can, of course, find us live on air online, live streaming at ktsmradio.com, and with full video on the El Paso History Radio Show Facebook page, YouTube channel, also on twitch.tv and on some Twitter pages as well as shared on the Facebook group Remember in El Paso When. And this, of course, is the place where we say Texas history begins in El Paso. We do have a history moment today at the top of hour 2 from documentary filmmaker Jackson Polk, today talking about the Taft-Diaz historic meeting at the, well, more than 100 years ago in El Paso. So, guest today here in studio, we are joined by Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the UTEP Student Alumni Association's Haunted Campus Tours. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Always great to be back.
Happy to talk with you, because talking about history in different ways and appropriate for the season in its own right. We've talked previous times certainly about UTEP's history, parts of the campus, focus on many different aspects of it, such as like, the Lekong, most recently, I want to say, and even in more recent programs about things like the Centennial Museum and other parts of it. But anyone who is unfamiliar with the subject should know that UTEP has a very interesting and historic campus, even if we're only just talking about, of course, the display and the buildings, and what the actual campus looks like has its own history about it. And so you're going to be putting it on display in a unique way with this event that's coming up. Again, I gave the title for it, but for those who aren't familiar, what is this event, the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours?
All right. Well, the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours has been put on at campus since 2007, so this will be the 16th year. It is presented by the UTEP Student Alumni Association, so it's not the main alumni association, it's the student body organization of it.
Oh, okay.
And all the tours include stories and tales and everything else from essentially the oral history here at University of Texas at El Paso. The stories are true as we know them, because a lot of them have not deviated in decades. We have many featured buildings. This is a nighttime walking tour, so as you see there on the screen. So guests will be led by guides from the SAA to different buildings. Some of the buildings will actually be able to go into, such as Psychology, Old Main, a few others. Mcguffin Auditorium is often a great one. And get to hear the stories presented by storytellers from the SAA. And it's a great event. It's an annual event. It's a fundraiser. And I've been involved in it since 2011.
Right. We actually got some pictures of your involvement there in previous years in that very recognizable orange shirt you got on there. So
yeah, I got nicknamed the Great Pumpkin for multiple reasons, not just because I'm fat, but it was just kind of a loving pet name that I got one year. That's kind of stuck. So it's just a lot of great time. In fact, that picture looked like a good friend of ours, Jackie Reed.
It does indeed.
It looks like Jackie's hiding there.
Yeah, a little bit behind the trash can there herself here. And again, so there's theming, and I mean, it is as I mentioned, kind of a spooky season kind of event. So you do have some extra things on display around campus as part of it. But again, the real focus of this is, of course, the history of campus, or in particular parts of the history of campus, I really should say, because it's intertwined with the history that, well, we've definitely talked about on the show previously, but in different ways that may be, well, appropriate for the season. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, very much so. Part of the goals of the Student Alumni Association is to keep the traditions alive of the university. And this was a new tradition that was started, like I'd said, in 2007, and has gone every single year, including COVID 2020, where the members, the students, got very, very creative. And since campus was essentially suspended during that time, that was the year of the digital tour. Or virtual tour, excuse me. And they put together a kind of a podcast blog type thing that was on YouTube.
Okay.
And still was able to present and still tell the stories. The night of the event, they had a live streaming party, and you could essentially buy your ticket like you would to go on the tour in order to be part of the live streaming party. And it was actually quite a pretty good success. It was honestly one of the best adaptations to continue on the event, despite the obstacles that the COVID pandemic and everything behind it,
of course,
it presented the university. So, but it is awesome. It is great fun. Every single time I've had the occasion to be part of the day of, which has been almost every year, guests from alumni, people out of town, kids, everyone just has a really, really great time. Where guests start off, they used to start off at the DeWitter Center, which was the Alumni Lodge until things got shifted around. And now it's located at Leech Grove in the middle of campus.
Okay.
And guests have an opportunity to have kind of like a little Halloween carnival experience before and after they go out on the tour. So it's a great pre-Halloween event. It's usually the Friday before Halloween. Or the week of the Friday before Halloween, or however that works out.
This year is the 21st.
Yes, this year is the 21st.
Is the important thing for people to know here. So again, the event will be happening Friday, October 21st from 6 to 11 p.m. Again, put on by the UTEP Student Alumni Association. Again, the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. People can, of course, find more information about that by honestly just searching up UTEP Student Alumni Association. You'll be able to find that both on the main website for the utep.edu, but then also, of course, on Facebook where they have the details on it, the Haunted Campus Tours, and the theme this year. You have a particular, we've shown some of them. People may have seen the clowns going by because that has certainly been spooky associated in its own way in recent years. But you have a particular theme this year, right?
Yes, every year the SAA chooses a theme. We have had, for some reason in the past, clowns seem to have been popular. But this year the theme's kind of focused around a Stranger Things television show type theme. And things go based off of that, costuming, some of the games that you're going to have the opportunity to play, stuff like that. Now, there are rarely any kind of Stranger Things on campus, other than the students who are sweating exams or whatnot, and the odd grad student that lurks out from wherever they're studying in whichever department.
Seeing the sunlight for the first time in years kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't even think they see sunlight. It might be the moonlight they're seeing.
Yeah, potentially.
So, but a lot of the other places where folks will get the opportunity to encounter some of the ghost stories sometimes, and there's a couple buildings on campus that are notoriously haunted, and a couple have been arguably described as the most haunted buildings on campus. Folks actually get to go inside, and there have been occasions in one particular location, we'll talk about that later in the show, of where guests and storytellers both have had actual encounters during the tour. So campus these aren't just stories. Campus actually does have things that will go bump in the night with you standing there.
Absolutely. When you get to such a historic campus in its own right, we got that one good view of the kind of central campus, kind of that Leech Grove you're talking about. This one's more centered in the Lakong itself, but that's definitely one of the areas that we're talking about. The kind of like major parts of the event will be going on, right?
Exactly. And in fact, the picture that you've got up there, Leech Grove is to the left of it as you're looking at it. To the right, it's the geology building. Right.
But of course, and this is not exactly the same view there, but it's in the same area with Old Main on the right there. This is early 1900s view of campus, a black and white picture as it is, where we've got Old Main to the right, and then what are the other two buildings you thought that were shown in this one?
Looking at the orientation, it looks like the building in the center is Quinn Hall, named after Dr. Quinn, and home to the Great Gator Caper. And
right.
The one on the far left appears to be Seaman Hall, also known now as the Rubin Center Art Gallery.
Okay.
And Seaman Hall is one of the two most haunted, or said to be most haunted buildings on campus. And considering its history and everything else like that, it's no wonder that a lot of stuff might be happening there. Old Main is one that proved itself to be pretty active when a number of years ago a team from the Prospector did an overnight paranormal investigation, and they were not disappointed. They had everything from lights turning on and off by themselves, a trash can getting thrown down the stairs, a phantom lecture coming from a classroom in the middle of the night in campus, with nobody else there, not even janitorial services. So they're all pretty interesting, and it doesn't just happen at night.
So we'll be talking about, of course, some of those stories that you all will be going on to. And, I mean, it's appropriate for this season. I mean, we're, again, talking about history in kind of a different way here, I suppose. But given the fact about how much about haunted buildings, haunted places, this is the kind of time of year when we start going through, like, the lists from local media outlets about the most haunted places in town. So this essentially is kind of a concentrated view on the UTEP campus, which, I mean, even amongst the other spaces in El Paso that this gets talked about, I feel like it could pretty well hold its own.
Oh, definitely. UTEP could hold its own and against any of them. A lot of the most haunted places, articles and stuff like that, they'll feature, for instance, Concordia Cemetery,
of course,
downtown, El Paso High School, Austin High School. I've seen come up on it, Laredo School, as well as a number of buildings, the late DeSoto building. And not too many people ever think about the university or even know about the university, which is great, to be able to come in and feature it, because it's been such a key part of El Paso's history since 1914.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, again, this is the campus that we are talking about. Again, the kind of the further south view, kind of looking north. But I mean, that's what campus used to be, out there, middle of nowhere. It was put where it is, among other things, because it was removed from town at that point in time. So that just gives a sense of history on how far, of course, it has moved. And so we'll talk even further. And of course, then the even inspiration for it with this is not on the UTEP campus, the picture we're showing right now, but this is some of the traditional architecture from Nepal and Bhutan on display there. That is, of course, the inspiration for it, because of the way history works and how there was that inspiration among the architects and the presidents and the early founders of the campus to emulate this style, because of similarities seen in the landscape. Because, I mean, honestly, you'd be hard-pressed to say, looking between this picture we have up on screen of the high sloped walls with the colored ridges and overhanging roofs from Bhutan, I do believe where that picture is from, and then the actual campus here, again, with those three buildings Chris was describing, you'd be hard-pressed to say that those aren't more, that you could think those are the same place if you didn't know better.
It very easily can. And we have one of the deans of the university, Dean Worrell, his wife Kathleen, to thank for the architecture of UTEP. She found an article in National Geographic in 1916 and convinced her husband that the university, as it grew, needed to maintain a constant architecture. And so we've had the pleasure of having such a beautiful campus build up. In fact, that's the Centennial Museum right there. Every single iteration of construction of campus and whatnot has reflected it, and it's built into the charter in many ways. There are very few buildings on campus that were built, usually around the 70s and 60s, that did not necessarily maintain the Bhutanese design. That picture right there, that's the Undergraduate Learning Center that was built in the 2000s.
Right. Which, of course, and then some of the other haunted ways, even if just effluence isn't totally the right phrase, but it's closer than we might be getting to.
It's more of an environmental ghost. You see the old swimming pool that was there next to the dorms in the up until I think the 1970s.
But tell you what, let's get into that story here after this first break.
Do that.
Because we got to, of course, keep people in suspense and also take that first break of the hour right now. Again, joining us here in studio is Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the upcoming UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. Again, the details on that, look for the UTEP Student Alumni Association, either on Facebook or in your search engine of choice. You can find the details on the event coming up, again, Friday, October 21st from 6 to 11 p.m. Tickets are cheaper right now as we are airing this, but will be $10 at the door. And again, all those details online. But again, taking that first break, coming out of this break, talking more about, maybe we'll get to that story about why the pool still lingers in its own right and why you should not buy tickets to the pool that are at, again, the UGLC, like you mentioned. But otherwise, back after this break with more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. We are, of course, the El Paso History Radio Show on Facebook. You can go there, of course, like the page, share it if you feel so, and, of course, can see our shows as we put them forth with all the pictures and production we put into them, and also find our weekly promo announcement posted there for the topics of the upcoming shows each and every week. Also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/El Paso History TV. One of the better places, particularly if you're not into the whole account kind of thing. YouTube is open and available, and you can not comment necessarily, but be able to see the programs, and of course the full archive that we have of a lot of these, including pretty much all the ones that we have put online and done the live streaming of, as well as a whole lot more, including the entire series of El Paso History TV reports that aired on KVIA in the last few years. Had a hand behind the camera myself on those, as well as the entire series of El Paso Gold History DVDs uploaded free and complete for your viewing pleasure. So a lot of ways you can get at us and find out what we got going on there. Of course, reminder to support some of our advertisers. Pepe's Restaurant in Canutillo is, of course, open for in-house dining. Find them at 6761 Donovan Drive. Easiest way I take to get there is just head down Talbot, turn left when you get to Donovan, and it'll be right on your right once you get past there. But in any case, any way you want to get there, you can give them a call at 915-877-2152. That's 915-877-2152, home of the Juan and only Margarita. And whenever I head out there, as I will be doing this Saturday, according to plan anyway, getting the Croom special as my usual. But in any case, joined here in studio as we are talking about a whole lot more going on with Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor, for the upcoming UTEP Haunted Campus Tours happening in its roughly, what would you say annual event this is at this
This will be the 16th annual.
16th annual. So quite an extensive history in its own right, but of course going into history of certain parts of campus in particular ways, because, well, it's October. We got Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, all those kind of events on the mind, Samhain, if you want to get into even further. And so it's appropriate to go into these kind of things, and particularly defending, I guess maybe not a title would be a right way to think about this, but place on the list of some of the most haunted places in town. So for people who want to get involved in this event, go out and see it and get a part of it. Again, as we are both recording and airing this actual episode, tickets are cheaper right now.
Yes, advanced purchase tickets and online tickets are always cheaper with this event. It's $6 online, or if for whatever reason you're not able to go online to purchase the tickets, you can get them at the gate when you show up, and that's $10 a person, and that's just flat rate. Mm-hmm. You can get your tickets at either online at alumni.utep.edu/SAA, mm-hmm. or you can find out further information on the Student Alumni Association Facebook page or Instagram, which is at UTEP_SAA. Ticket sales will be going on until the day of the event. I'm not sure what exactly the cutoff time is, but they are available now. Mm-hmm. And it's a great opportunity to go out to see the night air, see the campus. The renovations that were done several years ago have really literally taken root, and the trees and all the landscaping that was planted when I was there is now, I mean, it's almost a forest in the middle of campus, and it's absolutely just gorgeous. It's a great opportunity to come out, learn some relatively unknown history about the university, mm-hmm. and have some spooky kind of fun.
Absolutely. So again, a lot of the events and stuff going along with it. Again, we've been popping up some of those pictures from previous versions of the event. So it'll be both tours. So bring your walking shoes, because you'll be going around at mostly Central Campus, right?
Yes. Usually the route's kept to Central Campus, just largely because some of the outlying buildings are just too far to walk, or they're just it's too far out of the way in order to take people to certain buildings. And there are also ghost stories from buildings off campus, such as the Campbell Building downtown, which used to be part of Hotel Dew Hospital.
Oh, true.
But yeah, it is a beautiful center campus thing. I started this when I was an undergraduate, and then have gone, now that I'm an alumni, I maintain a advisor capacity. I've done the research for this event probably about, I think, 2013 is when I started really researching. And all the stories, a majority of the stories, we actually have been able to find documentation of them at least being talked about or told in the El Paso Times, in the Prospector, the university's newspaper. I believe the El Paso Herald, I found one. And doing the research, actually, we found how old some of these buildings have been talked about. One building in particular, which is featured on the route, although not mentioned as this particular haunting. I've found an article in the El Paso Times in 1938.
Wow.
For I believe it's Worrell Hall, which is in the center of Dormitory Row on Central Campus. So we've got a long, sustained history of ghosts being mentioned, talked about, and it goes back even further amongst the stuff that's not been printed.
Interesting. So it's kind of an interesting combination of both oral history, but then documentation of oral history and how it continues on here. So we'll get into some of those stories, including the one that we kind of teased from last segment about the haunted pool, might be a way I want to put it here, essentially.
The spectral pool.
Or the haunting of the pool. Anyway, we'll be back after that and talk more about that after this next break. Again, you're tuned into the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. More on that coming up after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the Juan and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Of course, got to talk about some of our other great partners in history. Of course, be sure to check out celebrationofourmountains.org. That is celebrationofourmountains.org, or just search that up on your favorite search engine. You'll probably get there to find a whole list of other events going on. And this is particularly a good season for it, as the weather's getting a little bit cooler, to go out and see some of the many different sites and events they'll be having, including one going on today as we are originally airing, so you may have missed that already, but there's plenty more to come up, including a Picacho adventure, going out to the Tenuco Mountain petroglyphs and minerals, and touring the birthplace of the atomic age Trinity site. So, and that's just the next few coming up with a whole lot more. So, of course, celebrationofourmountains.org. Go and check them out for what they have coming up and the many events going on in our region. I'm sure this one will be featured as well, as we are again joined here in studio by Cris Martin at UTEP Alumni Advisor for the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours, of which are going to be happening on their own Friday, October 21st from 6 to 11 p.m. So, right at about sundown to well into the night, and very appropriate for the season. And so, we've been talking a lot about kind of the organization of it and what goes into it, but of course, I'm sure there's plenty of people that are very much wanting to know some of the stories, and a lot will be happening that night. I mean, there's 4 hours to cram stuff into, but there's a few stories or areas that we wanted to talk about here, and we were actually talking about one during the break that's kind of a one-off, but it kind of gives a good example of, well, some of the, again, oral history that you all are sharing and going to be talking about, and the stories that percolate through campus about hauntings or spirits or presences in certain ways?
Yeah, definitely. Other than some, those of failed tests and whatnot. But no, in this particular story, we were only able to feature it once because the building is off main campus. It's the Campbell building. We were only able to feature it 1 year, and that was when campus was all torn up, and then the center campus was a big ditch, and we had to adapt how we did the tour that year, and so it was my suggestion that we utilize and get permission for the Centennial Museum Chihuahua Gardens, and
okay.
And so the Campbell building, a lot of people may or may not know, it used to belong to the old Hotel Dieu hospital complex,
mm-hmm.
and this particular story happened, or was told to me by a campus police officer while I was doing some research and interviewing different folks, university staff, personnel, older alumni, to see how, how some of the stories have deviated, and then also some of the stories we might not be aware of. And as the story goes from this particular police officer, he was a rookie police officer from at the university, hadn't many years experience, still getting used to the campus, and was doing his evening building checks, and went down to the Campbell building, and it was, I believe it's before they had a guard, a public safety officer there at all times, and so the officer goes in and turned around to see this short little woman who was dressed as a nun, and no big deal. The university does have in certain departments, both religious and clergy faculty who teach. And so, according to the story, the nun asked the police officer, "Can you please escort me up to my office? I know the building's closed." And so the police officer lets her in, and they go to the elevator. They ride up to the third or fourth floor and walk down the hall, goes to her office, and she opens the door and goes in. Well, as the police officer is starting to walk away, he realizes that the light didn't come on. And
so essentially, none stepped into the office, closed door, but no light came on in the office, and this is at night, obviously.
Yeah, this is in the middle of the night. This is well after midnight.
So unless there's a nun night vision, we got some, obviously, like, wait, what kind of question going on?
Exactly. And so the officer doubled back, tried the door, and it was locked, and so he had to use his patrol key to get in. And there was no one in the office, no sign of anyone being there, no spinning desk chairs, just the office was as still as the grave, no pun intended, but kind of freaked the officer out. So, and those particular windows don't open. So the officer just quietly closed the door, walked to the elevator, went back down and got in his patrol car and returned to duty. And did not tell this story to his other officers for years, because he didn't want to, get made fun of or teased or anything else like that. And it wasn't until the officer, from what he told me, he said it wasn't until one night during graveyard shift, everybody was sitting around, and some of the more senior officers started telling their ghostly encounters at the university, and he finally was brave enough to tell what happened to him at the Campbell building. So
move the story from, all right, where's the bottle kid kind of territory to, well, this is what's happened to me, what about you kind of situation.
Exactly, and a lot of the buildings, that's where stuff happens. Some of the best ghost stories that I've gotten during my research, and then also others who've done research before me. I've had the privilege of hearing first person encounters from janitorial staff, from, like I said, older alumni from previous years. There's one story that we tell that, in speaking to a group of Golden grads, that one of the ladies pipes up and she said, "Well, you're not telling that story completely." And I said, "Oh, really? What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, there's another part to that story that when I was in school here in the 60s, this is what happened." And so I was able to add to it.
Okay.
And it's just interesting when you actually go through, and for me, I try to find as much original material from where these stories started, how they started, and surprisingly, certain buildings on campus, such as Cotton Memorial and Seaman Hall and a few others, the stories have not deviated in decades as to what goes on.
I mean, that's one of the kind of fascinating things. I mean, there might be some out there wondering, why are we talking about ghost stories on a history program? Because, I mean, there's, a lot of that talk around town, also appropriate season, but also the way you've gone about this is somewhere in between both, campfire ghost stories and oral history project, really, is kind of how this has developed over the years. I mean, sure, maybe focused on a, fun set of tours and events and things going along with it, but you've been really applying, methods to this. This is not just, what's the best stuff we can come up with. You've been actually researching and doing the work on this.
Yes, and I've written the scripting for that is used by the storytellers for a number of years. I think 2012, 2013. It was when I really started writing the scripting, because when I first got involved, the material was literally 2 sheets of paper and not even Cliff Notes. And the presentation, I remember my very first encounters with it. It was before I had enrolled at UTEP. was you had somebody who was holding their little pieces of paper with their cliff notes, and that wasn't just for one building, that was for the entire tour, 2 pages for the entire tour. And it turned into, well, what happened here was, and very poorly presented. And so I took pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and was able to really write it out better, because a lot of the folks who are presenting are not actors. They're not in the theater department. They're from all majors. Some may have never presented before in their lives until they got to university. And there's a lot more to these stories. And in order to kind of preserve that tradition and keep that tradition alive, you kind of have to keep some continuity. And
yeah, absolutely.
And there's always the question that you get at least once a year from guests of, is this story true? Or when did this story happen? Or as one year put it, why does it seem like everything always happened in the 70s or 80s or back in the 40s? And my answer to that is, well, that's when we've gotten the documentation in the form of newspaper articles and writers and stuff. That we had 2 university professors who, during their time, they were both English professors. During their time there, they wrote books as part of, that's just what they do. And they included stories about UTEP and everything in these books that are published. And so, we have, even back then, the attempt to preserve this oral history of the university and whatnot. And in some ways, it's even shaped how the stories get told.
Sure. Yeah.
Originally, Cotton Memorial was thought to be one of the most haunted buildings on campus. And then when a certain professor came in and whatnot, he learned from facility staff about other ghost stories with Seaman Hall, also known as the Rubin Center. And because of his publication and his focus on the research on that, Seaman Hall started to be known as the most haunted building on campus. And now it's kind of like dueling pianos. Because you have Seaman Hall on one end of Central Campus, you've got Cotton Memorial on the other end of haunted campus, and it's just all sorts of really great stuff. And we can get into some of the stories of either building or both if we want to go down that road in the show.
Oh, that we'll definitely be going down some of that road. Don't worry, we're not going to give away the whole tour now.
No.
But I mean, we don't think we could, because there's a lot going into it. I mean, it's a 4-hour event. I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff going on during that, but we're definitely going to touch on some of the really good ones here. But we got to take that next break right now for that matter. So again, joining us here in studio, of course, is Cris Martin, the UTEP Alumni Advisor for the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. Again, going to be happening Friday, October 21st from 6 to 11 p.m. All the details, look for the UTEP Student Alumni Association online or on social media, Facebook specifically. Got to take that break now. So coming out of this break, talking more with Cris, getting into some of those stories, including probably that one we've been teasing for a minute about the haunting of the pool, or the haunted pool, the spectral pool, like you were saying. After this break with more here on the El Paso History Radio Show on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano, and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the Juan and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-5.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. A couple other of our partners in other promoting or particularly this show, history here in El Paso. Make sure to go and check out Rick Kern's music podcast, Talk and Rock Radio. Find him at talkandrockradio.com, where there's a lot of episodes on a lot of different aspects of, including having fun with the Cowsills, Carl Giammarese and the Buckinghams, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. A lot of memories and remembrances of early El Paso, or kind of golden age of rock and roll history of the region, including bands originated from here. I mean, some of his previous ones, El Paso bands of the 60s and 70s. A lot of cross-application with the stuff that we also talk about here, but in a more musical sense. So again, check that out, talkandrockradio.com. And, of course, some of our great advertising partners, call 915-588-1850, 915-588-1850 for Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker, Heritage Real Estate. Patrick and his team, excellent realtors that really are the go-to for me and my family for El Paso homes for sale or rent, including the house that I just moved into and am still in the process of unpacking from. That's not his fault, but it is the reason I am in there and have the reason to unpack is because of their work, and very appreciative of that. Again, 915-588-1850 to find, again, El Paso homes for sale or rent. But again, joining us here in studio right now, we are joined by Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the upcoming UTEP Haunted Campus Tours, and we've been teasing about a lot of different stories and things going on, and of course a lot of them will be on display during the event itself coming up Friday, October 21st, so just before really Halloween itself and the end of the month from 6 to 11 p.m., so a good way to kind of keep in the spirit of the season, so to speak. And so if people want to get those tickets, they can get them in a variety of ways.
Yes, you can get your tickets online at either the Student Alumni Association page, which is alumni.utep.edu/SAA. That's S as in student. And they're $6 for a head purchase, or $10 at the gate the night of.
Exactly. So, and of course, I mean, it's cheaper right now if you take advantage of it, if you can, but if you really want to, because they are on sale right now as we are airing. So make sure you go and take advantage of that. But at least one story that we've been talking about that is I'm going to call it haunting adjacent, because it's not necessarily so much spectral, though there may be an aspect of it, as it is olfactory, shall we say? Yeah,
and it's one that, oddly enough, a lot of the undergraduate students will encounter at one point in time or another, and it is not a story that we tell on the haunted campus tours at all, because it's not really haunting, but it's an experience that is to be had, and at one point in time, every student is going to learn about this, either be told about it or they're going to be sitting in lessons and lectures and encounter it. And that is the phantom smell of the Undergraduate Learning Center. And where the UGLC was built is actually on the site of one of the old swimming pools. And, you know, that pool had been around for a couple decades, I want to say. And so, of course, any kind of swimming pool back in the day used chlorine and probably lots of it.
Yeah.
That's going to seep through. And so now the specter of the UGLC is certain lecture halls, the very large auditorium-sized ones. they're built right into that area where the pool physically was. And so now you get the faint smell of chlorine in certain parts of the building. And it's not going to come and get you, but it's definitely something that makes you wonder where there's not a swimming pool anywhere near this part of the building,
Right.
Or this part of the campus, period. And why does it smell like chlorine in a swimming pool?
So again, I'm going to call that a specter of a kind there. And again, we got the historic picture of the black and white from probably, I think there might be a date in the corner there. That's a little hard to see. But the possibility of it being something that people can experience in its own way. Again, not part of this tour, but one of those pervasive kind of campus myths and mythos that goes into kind of this whole event here. So again, not necessarily a feature on the tour. Again, didn't say we're going to give away all the features of the tour because that would be, what would you want to go on to it except for the experience, of course. But people can see this and those kind of stories. Again, the kind of, confluence of both oral history, passed along from, generation of students to generation of students, as well as the actual collection and formalization of it as a oral history project. Essentially, that'll be what was majorly on feature for these haunted campus tours coming up again a little bit later this month.
Correct. And, there's no wait time or possibility for us to go into all the stories here. Every year, the Haunted Campus Tours features about 6 to 8 stops, whether those are inside buildings, outside buildings, somewhere on campus. You're going to go to 6 or 8 storytellers at least. 6. Usually it's been capped at 8. We've had event years where we've had the availability to get access to certain places on campus, and so we take advantage of it, and we'll have more than those. But each location has about 2 to 3 stories, so you're looking at around a dozen stories or so, a little bit more, maybe about 16 you're going to hear in the night. But the actual catalog of everything that I've compiled and everything that has become, what is available to the Student Alumni Association for this event is well over 3 dozen stories and a couple dozen buildings on campus, many of which, for logistics reasons, they're not able to go to.
Sure.
But we've, this has been collected. It's been refined. It's been reviewed. And so, it's what we could give you today in this conversation on this episode is literally just your toe in the pool.
Just scratching the surface.
Yeah, just scratching the surface. But we can talk about a whole, all sorts of stuff for hours and hours.
Absolutely. And we'll get into a few of those, but we got to take that break and end the first hour. Coming from the second hour, getting into some of those stories, some of the places that will be featured again on the upcoming tour. So again, joining us here in studio, we've had Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the upcoming UTEP Onto Campus Tours. He'll be sticking around with us, and so you stick around as well as we get into more of these stories here on the El Paso History Radio Show. Back in a minute.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1EP.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1EP.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on YouTube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso to control the Rio Grande's water flow into El Paso. Taft met with Diaz in El Paso for a private talk and a public parade. They went to the Juarez Customs House for an event that dwarfed all others of that historic occasion. The entire building had been transformed into a reproduction of one of the famous salons of Versailles. 3 train carloads of flowers were brought from Guadalajara for the event, and toasts were exchanged at an elaborate dinner. After this historic meeting of presidents, construction of the Elephant Butte Dam began in 1910, and 19 months later, Porfirio Diaz was overthrown with the capture of Ciudad Juarez by revolutionary forces. I'm Jackson Polk with this history moment for the El Paso History Radio Show.
Also have to mention some of our other great partners in promoting and talking about aspects of El Paso history. Barbara Given Bainey, owner and operator of the great Facebook group called Remember in El Paso When. You can go there for archive pictures galore on this and many other topics. They have more than 33,000 members. But please remember, these administrators have worked hard in researching photos with our history attached. So if you're sharing them, using them, otherwise enjoying them, please make sure to give credit to their site when necessary. And of course, talking about the keeping it on track, it's no mean feat to keep some kind of, well, sort of sense with a group that size. So a lot of work and a lot of credit to be given to the administrators, including, of course, again, Chief Admin, Owner, and Historian Barbara Given Bainey, known affectionately as BGB, along with admins Rick Duncan, Margaret D. Smith, Ben Vincent, and Al Lowe. Again, they're always looking for more people to be involved with them, so let them know if you want to be a part of their moderation staff. So again, joining us here in studio right now, we do, of course, have Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor, for the upcoming UTEP Haunted Campus Tours, and a lot of detail going into that, and a lot of interesting stories that we'll be getting into there. But again, people, if you're just joining us, what we're talking about is that is going to be coming up this coming Friday, October 21st, going to be kicking off in Leech Grove, essentially Central Campus, going from 6 to 11 p.m. And of course, tickets are available online right now and will be available essentially at the door, so to speak, until the day of. But of course, the way that the event is going to be going is, well, a lot of spread about things. I mean, it's a 4-hour event for a reason, because there's going to be a lot of stuff being gotten into there, and a lot of, walking around campus, so bring good walking shoes. But really, the stories are kind of the major focus, or at least the major way it seems you think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what we've been mentioning about some of those stories and some of these specifics here, but of course, you got a number of buildings. So what buildings are going to be featured this year?
Well, that would be telling.
Oh, that would be telling. Okay, so what are some of the buildings you'd like to mention that are going to be featured this year?
Okay, so this year, I'm not entirely sure what the route is, because, again, things are always dynamic.
Oh, sure.
And there's always, I have to keep a little element of surprise. But some of the buildings that are regularly featured on the Haunted Campus Tours are the University Dinner Theater, Psychology Building, Old Main,
of course,
Quinn Hall, Fox Fine Arts Building, which is home to the Mcguffin Auditorium, and a few others. So sometimes it includes Seaman Hall, also known as the Rubin Center. Sometimes there's Quinn Hall. Sometimes, Cotton Memorial is quite often also on there. Sometimes there's Dormitory Row, which is the old Dormitory Row,
right,
still in part of campus, which is Hudspeth, Worrell, and Miners Halls, right there next to the Fox Fine Arts and behind the Cotton Memorial Building. So you're definitely going to have an opportunity to go in and see parts of campus you might not have known.
Absolutely. So again, we've been popping up some of those pictures, including, let's go into specifically here what is going on with parts of, I do believe this is the dinner theater, or which actual location is this then we're looking at?
That's actually Mcguffin Auditorium.
Mcguffin Auditorium. Okay. So what is going to be, we got some of the examples of previous years. Again, one of your interpreters, so to speak, on stage there, if only because of the costume, I'm saying that.
Oh, yeah. The students who do this, they really get all out involved in costume, and it's not unheard of for me to even show up in costume depending on what the theme is. Mm-hmm. And with regards to the Mcguffin Auditorium, it's one of the more active places on campus. I've had personal experiences during just about everybody who's been in there. One year
sure.
we had a pair of students who were going to be presenting the ghosts of Mcguffin Auditorium, and Mcguffin Auditorium is not always able to go inside because of performance schedules.
No, sure.
The university has 5 performance stages. Mcguffin is one of the more popular. And in between groups, I was kind of shadowing and everything else like that, kind of checking on folks. And I went in just to see how the girls were doing, and it was right after a group had gone through. And they're all, Mr. Martin, you're not going to believe what happened. And I said, what? And they said, there's something here with us. And I just kind of smiled, and I let them tell their story because I didn't want to poison the pot in any way.
Sure.
And they said, we were sitting here, a group had gone through, it was the group before this, and we noticed something up on the stage in the wings over by the side of the stage. I said, okay. And she's all, you won't believe it unless I show you. And she pulls out her phone and shows me the video she took. And it's one of the fly cables, one of the fly ropes, and it's moving like somebody's shaking it. And there's no way you could like flick it and walk away and put your camera up or something like that. These ropes are under tension. You have to move them. And we looked up, and it was tied off to, wasn't on a sandbag. It was tied off to one of the catwalks above the stage. Now, one of the many encounters and multiple stories about Mcguffin Auditorium is seeing or hearing things from the catwalks. There's a story of in other parts of the university, someone falling from the catwalks to their unfortunate demise below. And Mcguffin, I've been up there. And yeah, you see shadows of something like someone's ahead of you, like 10, 12 feet, and they're just darting around the corner or something like that. So it kind of gave a little bit of credence to it. What's been said, it's not necessarily a part of any of the features, but the fact that they had that experience while they were there by themselves, and it supported some of the stories that have been told over the years, was just awesome. We got believers that night.
Okay. And so that's just one of the examples that you got going on with it. So, of course, again, examples we've been popping up of previous such buildings being visited and talked about. And so, again, that's kind of the way the whole tour goes, is that you'll be taken around a number of different stops, and the stories is kind of the feature of the night, somewhere between 12, 16, a little bit in flux, like you said, and, of course, more details to come. And you got to go on the tour to see everything.
Yeah, and I mean, none of the encounters, for those of you who get concerned, because I hear it all the time, nothing's going to follow you home. None of the ghosts are out to get you. Most of the hauntings on campus, as I've heard them or I've encountered them, are basically the spirits, if you would, just letting you know they're there. There are some parts of the building that still the campus that still to this day, when I go in certain buildings, a certain I'll hear a pop or a creak or something in a part of the building, and it's a cement building. So it's not like it's wood boards shifting or anything else like that. And it's essentially just, spirits saying, hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Other buildings, the encounters can be a little bit more terrifying, like Cotton Memorial. There's said to be a screamer in Cotton Memorial. It's one of the ghosts that's been encountered since at least the 1970s, and the establishment of KTEP, yes, KTEP.
Oh, KTEP, yeah, of course.
Back in the day where you had live everything during your broadcast time, and you had to have a DJ or a producer there in
someone spinning that record, yeah.
Exactly. And there are countless tales of KTEP students and faculty being at the radio station late at night, and they go out into the hallway and they hear a scream. One of the more entertaining stories about KTEP was a girl was there one weekend working an afternoon shift, and there used to be a staff-only door that had a particular hidden doorbell that was only known to the radio station staff. And story goes that the gal was in the radio station. She was doing her show and doing all of her setups and everything. And she keeps hearing that bell ring and ring and ring and ring. And so finally she gets up out of frustration and goes to the door and opens it. And there's about 5 of her friends out there. And they're like, it's about time. We've been banging on this door for the past hour, 45 minutes. And we can't, we were hoping you'd come out. And she said, well, why were you ringing the dang doorbell the whole time? And all of them, none of them were radio station students. They're like, there's a doorbell. And so that, it's kind of little weird things like that, that happen. we've got, for instance, Centennial Museum is where some of our more friendly ghosts are. And Centennial Museum's not on the ghost tour. I'm going to tell you that much.
Okay.
So it's not spoiling anything, but it's one of the more entertaining ghost stories we have on campus. There's said to be there are more than one. There's at least two. Now, Centennial Museum was built around 1936.
Yep. Looks about right with the car we got in the picture there.
Yeah, and it was built for and where it got its name as Centennial Museum is it was built to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Republic of Texas.
Of course. 1836.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the more common encounters that happened there at the museum is a little girl that's called Isabel. And you hear her kind of giggling in certain areas, or you'll hear her beside you as you're walking up the stairs, or she tries to hold your hand, like a little child would need help going up.
Sure.
And then Isabel also likes the elevator.
Who doesn't?
Yes, and as recent as a couple weeks ago, I heard from a museum staff member that she was going in through the back doors, which is where the elevator is located in that part of the building. And as she come in, she saw the elevator door close. Now, she was the only person in the building, supposed to be in the building at all that day. And so she was wondering, okay, why is this elevator door opening and closing? And that's one of the most common things with when you encounter Isabel is the elevator doors will open and close randomly on their own, quite often a couple times, or you'll hear a ding, like the elevator has reached your floor, but the doors never open.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. The other encounter that a lot of folks have at the Centennial Museum is a rather polite gentleman. It's a gentleman's voice. He's often encountered in certain parts of the exhibit area, and as you're passing him, he will say, good morning or good afternoon, whatever the greeting is of the day. And it's both in English and in Spanish. He's not monolingual, this one. And it kind of depends on who you are is how you hear the greeting. And you can, and
Interesting.
Folks who've encountered this have claimed that they feel someone walk by as they're getting the greeting of the day.
Interesting here.
Yep.
So some of the stories that won't be on this coming tour, but are in evidence of what is available on campus in general. I'm sure if you ask one of the again tour guys knowledgeable about this might be able to give you some extra scoop. But again, the tour will have its own features. Again, coming up October 21st, the UTEP Haunted Campus tours going on from 6 to 11 p.m. that day. Again, joining us here in studio is Cris Martin, our UTEP Alumni Advisor for the event. Got to take that first break of this hour right now. But coming out of this break, we're talking more with him, more about some of the stories and more about some of the details of the Haunted Campus tour. So stay tuned for more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archive pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing on this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. Want to talk to you a little bit about what we got coming up for you on the program. Continuing on this month, going to be talking further a little bit later on about what we got for the spooky season, but specifically next week, going to be having on local military historian John Hamilton talking about the history of the 1st Cavalry Division on Fort Bliss, and of course the many aspects and ways that has changed over the years. So, okay, tune in for that next week on the program. But again, of course, we have one more sponsor to remind you about, Mission Del Rey Southwest. Go there with out-of-town visitors for souvenir, jewelry, gifts, and decor items, including a whole lot more than you might ever expect to find. They also have, of course, their clearance area. They're always getting in new and interesting different things. I'm often surprised when I go over there, specifically with some of their patio furniture they've had lately. It's cast aluminum, but in weather and aged and treated to make it look such, but it's a whole lot lighter than cast iron and a lot less likely to crush your foot if you accidentally drop it on there. So, again, if you want that kind of thing, or again, a lot of selections of both Native American pottery and crafts, as well as literal flavors of the Southwest with their many consumable items, including, snacks and things gathered from the region. Again, MissionDelRey.com, where you can find them, and they do ship around the world. Of course, their 12,000 square foot showroom there on Lee Trevino and Pelicano. Mention the El Paso History Radio Show for a discount. Again, that number, 915-440-2140, 915-440-2140 for more information. But again, joining us here in studio, we of course have Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the upcoming UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. And so we're not trying to give everything away, the whole kit and caboodle, so to speak, but there are a lot of stories. I mean, you've talked about the dozens that you've gathered around campus, and some of them, of course, include buildings that are no longer there, so you can't exactly tour the building because it's no longer in existence, but I mean the stories of course remain on.
Oh yes, and again, this goes back into the history, or the historical part of this is now all we have other than photographs is we have all these long time ghost stories of the building that are part of the oral history, part of the urban legends and stuff like that of the university. And one of them we were talking about was the Valentine's Day jumper, which is I think that name just kind of come out of the student body on that one, and it involves a very unpleasant event where obviously a student fell to their demise off of the top of one of the buildings, and the building in question that there's actually two of them that this story surrounds no longer stands. It was Berry Hall. Which Berry and Burgess Halls were both torn down to make way for the new, I believe it's the new research building that adorns the west side of the campus. And it's a gorgeous building. But Berry Hall and its sister building, Kelly Hall, were both built in, I want to say the 1970s, to serve as tower dorms on campus. It was one of the university's really concerted efforts to accommodate student population on campus and not make it so commuter, as it's often referred to, as UTEP is often occasionally referred to as being a commuter campus, because of the lack of student housing at times, which they've since built Minor Canyon, which is a huge complex.
Oh, yeah.
But back to the story. So the story goes that back in, I'd have to say, I believe it was the 1970s, 1980s, about early 80s, if I remember correctly. A girl, it was around Valentine's Day, there was supposed to be some kind of dance or gathering or whatever, and she found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her. He was an athlete, and so when he went to pick her up at the dorm, she stood him up. And so later on that evening is when she supposedly jumped, and the boyfriend so distraught with this whole thing because apparently, according to legend, the story that he was cheating was a lie from another girl who wanted to date this guy. And so after her death, every year on the anniversary, there would be a single red rose found in the fourth floor lobby of Kelly Hall. And by dawn, it would disappear. And the particular alumna that I got this information from, or got this particular story from, she herself, when she was an undergrad, and her friends had staked out the 4th floor lobby to see what would happen. And lo and behold, the rose appeared, and nobody had gone in there. And so they waited up all night to see if someone would come and take the rose. Maybe it's just somebody pulling a prank and whatnot. Well, by dawn, and they'd stayed up, they blocked off the entry, but by dawn somehow the rose disappeared. And they had done, they thought, okay, well maybe this is just a one-off. Next year we're going to do it again.
Okay. Same
thing. And so again, we had another believer born, but it's anecdotal stories like this that happen. Now later on, the buildings fell out of disuse, and and Berry Hall specifically was essentially just used for storage. And Berry Hall was the men's dorm. And Kelly was the women's dorm. Is now home to office spaces and other things, so you cannot go in and visit it. But where the jumping occurred was between Kelly and Berry Halls, and people had said for years later that they would be driving by or walking by campus, and they would see someone jump off the top of the building. And of course, it generated people to call 911 or campus police. And
I would imagine
everybody shows up, and there's
nothing.
There's nothing there where it should be. And so 2012, 2013, myself and some conspirators with University Services for our haunted campus tour. Because again, you can't go into these buildings, and they're kind of out of the way, but you can see them at the end of a particular leg.
Sure.
So it was a little bit of a gag. The facility services thought it would be funny to help me out with this little thing, and it was we just made a silhouette of someone up against the window, and they provided the drop lights, the floodlights for it, and we'd gone up.
So it was very starkly obvious if you had the right angle.
Yeah, because there were no other lights on in this building, and to see one lit light to begin with is suspicious, but to see a silhouette up against the window. And it was only supposed to go up the week of the haunted campus tours, but for whatever reason, facilities couldn't get back until 3 weeks later, and it was another one of those things that there's someone in the building, and it was talked about for quite a while there that, there's someone in Berry Hall. No, there was just a shadow. And I did not realize it was up for 3
weeks. Yeah.
Until I drove by was driving on campus one night and just happened to be traveling in that direction. And I saw it still on, and I called up my friend and I said, your guys still have the stuff up.
What the hell's going on, guys? The event's long over. What's happening?
We're not trying to instill fear or suspicion that the building's still haunted, but so it's little kind of entertaining things like that kind of keep the ghost story alive, because I think that a lot of people who were alumni that worked for the university and stuff like that, or their spouses went to UTEP. They kind of wanted to keep a part of their time, something that was popular in their time, alive in the spirit of the tradition. And so it's that particular story is always one that I will fondly look back on. And it's one of those things that, because the building's gone, and it's been since replaced by another gorgeous building, we can never actually point to the skyline and say they're right there. That's where it happened, because that part of the skyline doesn't exist anymore. So we've added that page to history, and to my catalog of stories and my collection. Eventually, it'll be in a much more substantial, solid book form or something like that.
Yeah, definitely should be.
But the problem is every time I get a transcript ready to send it off to editing, I find something new.
Of course.
And I started actually trying to write it in a transcript form as something that come out of a conversation with the late President Diana Natalicio during our centennial.
Okay.
And she wanted to help have that featured. We actually had a special haunted campus tour. It turned out to be a daylight tour, so I ended up having to give the guests the tour myself as part of the centennial celebration. And it come up that we don't have this part of the university's history actually written down and documented, whereas we have all sorts of we have an entire oral history department.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you had for the centennial so many other things documented that it was like, this needs to somehow go in there. But again, since 2014, every time I try to get something finalized,
there's always something new.
Well, and recently I found a biography of Josephine Clardy Fox, who's the benefactress for the Fox Fine Arts Center. When she passed away in the 1970s, she donated, I think it was roughly $3 million, something. My figure might be wrong, as well as a collection of her hats and some of her dresses.
Okay.
To the university specifically for the arts and performing arts department. And one of our ghosts in the Fox Fine Arts complex, because of some of the research that's come up, we've pretty much are convinced that this particular ghost, and I'm not going to say who she is, you'll have to go to the tour.
Oh, of course.
Is that of Josephine Clardy Fox. She didn't have any children, as I understand. And she wanted to really put forward something that would benefit generations to come, which ultimately became the Fox Fine Arts Building, which was named after her in 1978.
So that's just some of the stories and events and things surrounding, of course, what is coming up for the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. Again, talking right now with us in studio is Cris Martin, a UTEP Alumni Advisor for the event. Got to take that next break now, but coming out of this break, more on some of the other stories as well as details on the event as we get closer to the end of the program here today. So stay tuned. More on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archived radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Given-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history, at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC 7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and...
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Of course, I have to mention some of our other great partners in promoting, particularly this program and the aspects of El Paso history that come along with it. Of course, El Paso Inc. You can go there to see our weekly promo announcements and what we got coming up for you each week with a full write-up. And of course, you can find their original and in-depth reporting that comes out, and you'll find only in El Paso Inc. every week. El Paso's business journal, El Paso Inc., is available for home or business delivery. To receive El Paso Inc., order online at elpasoinc.com. Also get your digital subscription to stay always updated, as they do post stories in and during the week, even in between the issues. And of course, some of the other events coming up here, we have a full schedule of events, including coming up on October 10th, the Harvey Girls of El Paso, Texas, will gather at the historic Union Plaza Passenger Depot at 2 p.m. that Monday to learn about the echoes of the past when grand opening was held for the newly built Fred Harvey Eating House in 1906. October 14th, the Rio Grande chapter of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas will meet at the Greener Inn and Sunland Park Mall at 11 a.m. October 19th, the Southwest chapter of the Railway and Locomotive History Society will meet at Timo's Mexican Seafood Restaurant at 6 p.m. And October 21st, the El Paso Corral of Westerners program will be presented by Bill Key, the Mule in the Southwest. And a whole lot more, including more events, of course, coming with Concordia Cemetery, including October 15th, the Sundown Walk with the Spirits going on from 5 to 9 p.m. And, of course, Spirits Month at Concordia Cemetery, concordiacemetery.org, or online to find out many of those details. But again, joining us in studio today to talk about many events and goings-on is Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the upcoming Haunted Campus Tour. And so, of course, the stories are one of the major features of it, even though there's a lot more going on with it. One thing I want to make sure we mention here is that this is considered a family-friendly event, right? Yes,
it is a family-friendly event. There is, to my knowledge, no age restrictions for this year's tour. But a word of caution to those who would bring your children. Mm-hmm. This is like I said, a walking tour, a nighttime walking tour of campus. And for those not familiar with UT campus at El Paso, it's on hills. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, we have a part of campus that's known as Heart Attack Hill.
Yep.
Where you go from main campus going over to the Don Haskins Center, that little pass over there. But this is a pretty steep walk, I'll give you that much. But being a walking tour, you're going to be going uphill, you're going to go downhill, you're going to go upstairs, you're going to go downstairs. And it is mostly ADA accessible. But, for little kids, it might be a little too much. Also, there is something that folks who do visit campus at night, whether it's here at the Haunted Campus Tours or any other time, is we do have wildlife on campus also.
Right.
We've long had a population of cats that help keep the rodent population at bay, that are fed by the alumni and other people. Mm-hmm. In fact, there are cat feeding stations hidden throughout the state of the campus.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now, the side to that is other animals that like cat food, such as our skunks, have also taken up dormitory residence on campus and are living on free tuition. Of course. So you do have to be careful for the occasional skunk. Facility Services does a really good job of keeping the more pesky animals at bay. We've had just a number of stuff. So you will see potentially a black cat cross your path.
And just watch out for that white stripe then, particularly.
Yeah, exactly. It might not be very careful. Don't approach the black cat because it might be, might be the other variety of polecat, and you'll have to take a bath in tomato soup when you get home.
Yeah. So, it is outdoors. There's a lot of walking. And, of course, UTEP is nestled within some of the foothills of the mountains of our region. So, just keep in mind you're in the natural environment in its own way. But of course, the stories are some of the major things out there. And one of the buildings that, of course, is both central to campus and, of course, the tours as well is Old Main. Here we have one of the historic pictures of it with, if you look at the very boxy looking, not quite Model T style cars there. It looks like there might be one there and a little bit more advanced from there. So like 30s, 40s, probably I'd peg this. I mean, that building is historic in its own right, and being one of the major ones on campus. And of course, there are some stories involving that as well, even if some that I'm aware of, including, say, an irate professor upset about the lack of space within it, because there's actually, I mean, being in Old Main, it's been a while since I've been in there. It looks like it has a first floor, but it kind of doesn't. Like, you kind of go straight up.
No, not necessarily. It has, there are 3 floors that are occupiable of Old Main. You have the ground floor, which is very, very limited. It's
right.
The smallest dimensions. And then you have the second and third floors that have lecture space, some very small closet-like faculty space. I used to tease a professor that I knew who is, she is now at a university in California, that a professor of her stature of anthropology and sociology, that they would stick her in a broom closet.
But so the story I'm aware of is that because of the lack of first floor space, at least one professor at the time was saying, we need more space, and of course our main building. And so he went and, being a college of mines at the time, and of course that legacy continues on, decided to take some explosive methods to try and make more space on the ground floor during classes. Now, no ghost stories come out of this that I'm aware of anyway, but that's just one example of a story I'm aware of involving Old Main. And of course, you'll be getting into more from the particular tangent that you will be taking on with the ghost stories involving it, right?
Oh, yes. The explosion, the explosive expansion, we don't tell that one. We don't want people to get ideas.
Yeah, no, please do not replicate.
Especially the faculty. But yeah, some of the stories we will tell is one of the more well-documented incidents happened in 2002, when 5 members of the Prospector, the campus newspaper staff, decided that they wanted to do a paranormal investigation of Old Main because they had heard the ghost stories for years. Their parents had heard ghost stories for years.
Okay.
And so they thought, it's about a week before Halloween. It was a calm and breezy night. Not dark and stormy. It was actually in the 60s weather from what I looked up. And so it was a really good night to go, kind of ghost hunting. The full moon was starting to set in a couple of days. And so they got permission from the university, and the 5 of them, the quartet, went in there, and quintet went into the building. They were locked in by campus police, so there was no janitorial staff, no one else. It was just them. And there is a newspaper article from the Prospector that catalogs everything that happened and documents what all they experienced. To include, they'd set up, they had their snacks, they set their base camp up in the main lobby there on the ground floor. And at one point in time, a trash can, while the 5 of them were sitting in the main floor eating snacks, a metal trash can got thrown down the stairs from the 3rd floor. And when they went up to investigate, well, there's only one stairwell in Old Main, and it's the central stairwell, and then the elevator is right next to it, and that elevator is not quiet.
Sure.
Especially back then. But so they looked everywhere, they couldn't find anything, and it's not a very expansive building. For those of you who are listening, it's very narrow and whatnot. There was a reason why the professor decided he wanted to take matters into his own hands. But, later on in the night, they had also heard from a certain classroom, I've experienced this myself, the sounds of a lecture being held in one of the small lecture rooms, small classrooms on the 2nd floor. Again, they went up to investigate, and they saw the door open. They went in. They thought, okay, well, maybe we're hearing sounds from somewhere else in the university, and it's coming in through the windows.
Sure.
And nothing. It was absolutely silent. And so as they walked back, they were standing in the lobby area on the second floor, and they start hearing other things throughout the building. One of them had to leave early because she had a paper to write, according to the article.
Just remembered, of course.
Oh, look at the time.
I think I hear my mother calling. Exactly.
Oh, is it that late? And so she had to leave, and there's 4 remaining, and it was a very active night for them. As to sum up the incident, all of them report that they were so glad when campus police came to let them out of the building. It wasn't just the trash can they heard. They also had lights turn on and off in locked rooms. Like one of them was actually come to learn, the same closet office my favorite professor was trapped in for a couple of years. But the light turning on and off. If you go back to the picture of Old Main, you'll see above the main doors a set of French windows right there. It looks like it has a little mini balcony. During the encounter, while they were again regrouping and figuring out where they were going to go to the building next to do recordings and take pictures and stuff like that, they hear someone rattling the heck out of those windows, like they're trying to get in or trying to get out. And of course, they rush up there to see, what's all the commotion, and everything is again still. It stopped as they were halfway up the stairs, because they were, there's inference in the article that at one point someone felt that they weren't alone, that there was another human mortal in the building. And again, they searched the whole building and nothing happened. So the whole night that those guys were in there, it sounds like the building was throwing everything it had at them, with the exception of, making the bathrooms flood or someone popping up and spitting out pea soup or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And the stories are told in a lot more storyteller fashion. I'm only telling them like this to kind of tease folks and to give them a little idea of what they're going to encounter.
Exactly, because of course we are talking about that upcoming event, the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. Tell you what, got to take that last break. Coming out of this break, we'll talk more about the event, of course, the details, what people expect during it, and close out the show. So stay tuned for more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show, streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Gibbon-Bainey, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano, and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the Juan and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on Saturday mornings on our YouTube channel, El Paso History TV. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV for archives of the El Paso History Radio Show. Also on that YouTube channel, you can see for free many other videos, documentaries, and lectures about El Paso area history at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. Additionally, watch a dozen TV documentaries about El Paso history for free there on our YouTube channel. This includes Legends of El Paso's Mountains, Gunfights of the Old West, El Paso's Waco Tanks, Mexican Revolution sites in El Paso, and 8 more TV documentaries produced by El Paso filmmaker Jackson Polk since 2001. And at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, you can watch for free 20 short videos we produced that were broadcast on ABC7 KVIA TV newscasts. This series is called El Paso History TV and features Spanish missions and churches on El Paso's Mission Trail, plus the Guadalupe Mission in Juarez, Mexico. That church was built in 1659 and is the oldest known adobe building on the El Paso Juarez Valley. It still welcomes Catholic worshipers today. Go to El Paso History TV on youtube.com. You are listening to the El Paso History Radio Show streaming on Facebook, where you can find archive radio programs. The El Paso History Radio Show also streams on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Chief Administrator Barbara Given-Baney, known as BGB. Check out that page for thousands of archived pictures and videos of El Paso history. Remember in El Paso When on Facebook. Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Native American, and Mexico items, plus unique pottery, blankets, and turquoise jewelry. Bring your family and out-of-town guests to visit Mission Del Rey Southwest's large showroom at Lee Trevino and Pelicano and see their website at missiondelrey.com. 915-440-2140 for souvenirs, gifts, and decor. Mission Del Rey Southwest. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152. M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
The El Paso History Radio Show.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing in this pre-recorded episode on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Of course, joining us here in studio has also been Cris Martin, the UTEP Alumni Advisor for the UTEP Haunted Campus Tours. Again, that event itself coming up a little bit later this month, Friday, October 21st, from 6 to 11 p.m. Again, for details on that, find the UTEP Student Alumni Association, either on Facebook or, of course, their URL on the UTEP.edu. And because tickets are on sale now, $6 until October 19th, and then $10 at the door. Again, alumni.utep.edu/SAA for, again, the Student Alumni Association. And again, a lot of details we've talked about, some of the stories we've hinted at for this upcoming event. But again, it's a family-friendly one and one that is a little bit more vigorous than just, kind of a Halloween carnival. But there will be a lot of those kind of events going on during it as well, those kind of features in the midway, so to speak.
Always. You've got guests who can look forward to it, getting snacks, popcorn, various games, and whatnot. And it's just a great, fun environment. In fact, that's last year's photograph that you're showing up there. Mm-hmm. They really go all out, especially now that they're in Leech Grove. They've really been able to expand out from where we used to have things in the patio area of the Alumni Lodge.
Oh, okay.
So, they've been able to capitalize on the change that was kind of forced upon them when alumni relations got moved from the DeWetter Center, the Alumni Lodge, to where they're located now in Kelly Hall. So it's just a wonderful opportunity for anyone to come out and really enjoy things on a nice, cool October night in the middle of campus.
Absolutely here. So again, all those details, look for it, UTEP Student Alumni Association. And again, joining us here in studio has been Cris Martin, the UTEP Alumni Advisor for the event. Anything else you want people to know or that you really want people to get out of this? I mean, of course, it's a fun event, appropriate for the season, but I mean, again, you put a lot of serious work into this in a very serious fashion. So if you want anyone to kind of come away from this event with anything or a certain sense, what do you have in mind for that?
Well, for me and hopefully for those guests who encounter this and the students who participate in this this event annually, is this is a whole different side of the university that there's been movies made about urban legends on campuses and everything else like that. In fact, the Urban Legend series, come to think of it, but it's not necessarily just stories that have been you're not entirely sure of. This is a part of the oral history of the university. These are things that were born out of the experiences of miners past, the student miners.
Sure.
Because we are that's the mascot, is the miner, UTEP miner.
Of course.
But, just to come and see a different side of the university, to enjoy things, to hear part of stuff. A lot of the alumni that have come back who may have never been a part of this, it's a bit of a nostalgia for them because these stories, like I said, some of them haven't changed in decades.
Right.
And I've had the opportunity to talk to some of these alumni during the event and even others, the students and the supporting staff and faculty, and to hear, when I was here, we were scared of this building or we, this story's true because it happened to us or happened to someone else or whatnot. So it's kind of like a lot of the other parts of the more haunted things that we have around this time of year, or even year round, whether it's Concordia, whether it's downtown, whether it's San Elizario, wherever it's at. What you're encountering is part of the oral history and traditions of, well, in this case, the university.
Absolutely. So again, that'll be what's on feature during the upcoming event. The UTEP Pompton campus doors Friday, October 21st from 6 to 11 p.m. Again, all the details on that. Go ahead and look for them up at the UTEP Student Alumni Association. That's going to about do it for us here on this program today. Again, joining us here in studio has been Cris Martin, UTEP Alumni Advisor for the event. Thank you very much for sticking around with us to talk about all the details and what people can find out during it here today.
Not a problem. Thank you, Andrew. And remember, picks up.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We'll see you all next week on the program. Have a great weekend, y'all.